What great leaders do is they provide insights on where you can ultimately improve. Now, when you go and have a look at the Formula One and you see Max Verstappen and all of a sudden Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen makes a decision on how he's going to race that car, and he knows that in order to win the Formula One, first of all, you've got to stay on the track, and then you've got to be the fastest driver out there. Now, they track every lap, and if all of a sudden you're like 3 laps ahead and there's rain conditions, you don't have to push as hard around those corners because you know that you've got a commanding lead. But if all of a sudden you know that Lewis Hamilton is like literally 0.1 of a second behind you, you've got to have the absolute race of your life. Now, residential real estate is no different, and there are 3 specific numbers that we've got to have a look at. The first number is always about the number of properties that you want to sell, and what impacts that is your clearance rate. So if you're in a position that you want to sell 5 every month and you have a 50% clearance rate, then you're going to need to list 10 properties. But if you're in a position that ultimately you've got a very narrow margin and you know that ultimately you're out there and you can list 6 and sell 5, then all of a sudden you're in a position that you really know that you've got a strong clearance rate in that high 80s, early 90 percentile range. Now, why this is so critically important is that once you actually know the number of properties that you've got to list, then what's your strike rate like inside of the lounge room? So how many listing presentations do you need to go to in order to be able to go and win the 5? Now, if you need to go out to 10 listing presentations in order to win 5, then how do we go to improve that strike rate from 50% and maybe get into circa, I don't know, maybe 80%? So now you've got to walk into like 6 or 7 or maybe 8 listing presentations in order to be able to go and win the 5 listings to then ultimately go and sell the 4. Once you've then done that and we understand that strike rate, then we're going to go and have a look at your efficiency rate. So how many market appraisals do you need to go to in order to be able to go and get into a listing presentation? Now, if that is like ultimately 1 in 3, then now all of a sudden you're out there doing 24 market appraisals to go into 8 listing presentations, to list 5, to sell 4. Now, if you get any of those numbers wrong, like your clearance rate, your strike rate, or your efficiency rate, then all of a sudden that can change those numbers wildly on how many people you need to go and meet. That's the difference between the industry pros and the amateurs, is that the pros know their numbers and they know specifically what they're doing to improve that number over time. So clearance rate might be around better quality buy work and price reductions. Winning the listing presentation might be an A4 of the 3 reasons why people make the decision to sell with me. And when it comes to our efficiency rate, they really understand the power of data and relationship with their previous market appraisals and their past clients to generate more of the listing opportunities that really matter. This is what great leadership is all about, is really understanding the numbers that you're going to track and what you're going to specifically do strategically and tactically to keep that measurement on track so that ultimately you're getting improvement in performance over time. If you do that, you can absolutely change people's careers because you can zero in on that one thing that tweaks all the other numbers.